to today's webinar. We'll be introducing the updated version of our Problem Passengers, Managing Difficult Passengers and Situations course, and how to access and best utilize the training. For those of you not familiar with the National Rural Transit Assistance Program, we're a program of the Federal Transit Administration with the mission of addressing the training and technical assistance needs of rural and tribal transit operators across the country and to support the state RTAP programs. Sorry, I was just looking at a question. My name is Liz Taylor again, Assistant Director at National RTAP, and I oversaw the development of this version of the Problem Passengers training. We also have Neil Rodriguez, National RTAP Project Manager, and Neil is the manager of National RTAP eLearning, our online learning management system. Finally, Kyle Brookshire, Vice President for Program Management at Zipline Performance Group, is here with us today. Zipline was selected as the contractor for the Problem Passengers update and the eLearning project, and Kyle was the project manager. Kyle will speak about the vision for the new version and will add anything I miss and be on hand to answer questions. Here's today's agenda. We're going to give an overview of the new training, how to access and best utilize the training, and Neil will provide an overview about National RTAP eLearning and how to get started if you're not already using it. Now we're going to do a quick audience poll to see how many of you are familiar with the previous course content. So let me launch the poll. Just a minute, and we'll wait until we have a good amount of people responding. So. Okay, just a little bit longer. We have 70% voted. Okay, 85%. That's pretty good. So I'm going to close that and share the results. So you should be able to see that actually 69% of you have not. So that's great that you're on this webinar to learn about what it includes. And yeah, that's really helpful. Okay, so here we are at the training overview. So the goal of the Problem Passengers training is to present information and techniques to help frontline rural transit staff to address disruptive or threatening passenger behavior and diffuse the situation, and to manage emergencies and other difficult situations with authority and professionalism. So that was the goal for the previous course and remains the goal for this version of the course. The original training was from 2002. The update project started in 2017 and was just released at the end of last month. Both the booklet and the accompanying video were updated, but we also created an e-learning version, and a narrated PowerPoint was created for a facilitator's guide. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kyle for a moment to talk a little bit more about the vision for the project from Zipline's perspective and anything else he wants to add. Kyle?
Yeah, thanks, Liz. As Liz mentioned, my name is Kyle Brookshire. I'm a vice president at Zipline Performance Group, and we were responsible for the development and building of the new updated course, and it was a great experience and a pleasure to do. So as we stepped on board, there were really three key areas that we saw that needed improving and updating from the old course. And I understand now that it sounds like most of you are brand new to this course, so we'll get deeper into what all the course covers. But the good news is the content and the course itself was really pretty solid in the last version. So those of you who've been through the last version, taken it, instructed on it, either way, that was a really solid course, and it just needed some update, some refreshing, some new content. So the three key areas that we really saw to update, as you can see on your screen, the content, as Liz said, the old course launched in 2002. The world is much different now, and we saw, especially in the dealing with threats and dealing with new types of services, sections of the content, that there were just new things that needed to be covered, new things that drivers are experiencing today that they weren't experiencing as much 15, 16 years ago. So that was kind of key one that we saw. The second was the instructional design. Even being in 2002, from both an instructional perspective as well as an overall graphic perspective, it felt pretty dated, and so we wanted to give it a makeover, give it a cleanup, make it more presentable, more engaging for the learner, as well as hopefully withstand the test of time a little bit better from a kind of look and feel aesthetic perspective. And the third thing that we wanted to do was update the delivery. So the major components for that were adding online e-learning as an option for people who might not necessarily be in an organization big enough to have a in-person training with a facilitator, or might be too far away to go to and attend an in-class workshop. So and this kind of training is really suited well for online delivery. So we added that. We built the e-learning components of that, as well as expanding the facilitator training and making the facilitator guide a piece of the project on its own, so that facilitators and instructors getting ready to present this training were as well equipped as possible in meeting the instructional components for the course in general. So that was the kind of broad brushstrokes vision that we had, us and National RTAP together. So I'll hand it back over to Liz to go through kind of in detail what the training covers for those of you who aren't familiar with it, and a little bit more about what the updates and new things are in the training.
Thanks so much, Kyle. It's great to have that perspective, and we had a great experience working with you. So what's changed with this new version? As Kyle mentioned, we updated and added some new content, including on assault threats, passengers under the influence, illegal drugs, needle safety, and service animals. We also updated the videos. So we scripted and shot new videos. There are 13 video clips, which can also be viewed as one long video. And they include 10 scenarios with many difficult situations that rural transit drivers face. There are 2 mentors in the videos shown in the upper right, and they emphasize the key concepts and debrief the scenarios. The videos were shot at 2 transit agencies at Via Mobility Services in Boulder, Colorado, and Chickasaw Nation Transportation Services in Ada, Oklahoma. But the video has actors, not transit staff, although there are some cameos in there. We also developed an interactive, self-paced e-learning version, as Kyle mentioned, and then expanded the previous content for the facilitators by creating a narrated PowerPoint, which helps prepare instructors for delivering an in-person version of the training. So here's the outline for the Problem Passengers course, and it's the same in both the physical learner's guide and the e-learning guide, and the e-learning version. So the asterisks note the content that was added with this new version. Throughout the 6 chapters and 13 videos, the course portrays many of the challenging situations that transit staff may face and explains appropriate responses. It covers customer management and behavior modification techniques and ways that drivers can present themselves to set a positive tone with passengers and maintain authority to help prevent situations from escalating. The goal is that with these techniques, drivers can be prepared to handle any situation that comes their way, but this is not an in-depth training on all of these topics. It's only 26 pages, So it's really an overview, and in some cases, additional training is needed, especially for things like active shooter situations that can't be covered in this type of training. In the chapters and under additional resources at the end, we list some other organizations and training opportunities to look into so that this can be part of a suite of training for your drivers. So here are the main components of the Problem Passengers training package. There's the Learner's Guide, the e-learning course, which is just another version of the Learner's Guide, and the Facilitator's Guide. So the Learner's Guide booklet comes with the videos on a DVD. It's available to order or download, all for free, from the National RTAP Resource Library, and it can be used for self-paced learning or for instructor-led training, which we kind of feel like instructor-led training is the best because it can be customized for your agency depending on your own policies and procedures and situations that you face. And you can have some role playing and kind of more discussion than what you would have if you were just having the learners read the booklet or take the online course. But the e-learning course we feel is a really critical option for those who just hired a new staff member, a new driver, and don't have time, doesn't fit into your annual training schedule. So the e-learning course is available anytime on National RTAP eLearning, also free. It's the exact same content as the Learner's Guide, but in an interactive online format. And this can also be used for self-paced learning, or it can be used as a hybrid with instructor-led training. So learners could take the e-learning version first on their own, and then a shorter instructor-led session could be held to reinforce certain content, talk about anything specific to your transit agency, and to do some role-playing exercises that are included in the exercises in the guide. And then finally, we have a Facilitators Powerpoint, which is a narrated PowerPoint, and it helps prepare instructors to deliver the course. It's available both on National RTAP, on the resource library for download, and on National RTAP eLearning, which is look under Facilitator Resources. Okay, so here are some sample pages from the Learner's Guide. The booklet is, as I mentioned, is 26 pages long, and it has some space for written exercises, but instructors might want to have some extra paper available for longer questions. The videos are to be viewed at specific times during the course and are noted in the table of contents and throughout the booklet, so you'll know when to watch them. They can be viewed as 13 clips, like if you're watching it that way, or it can be viewed as one longer video, depending on how the training is delivered. They're on the DVD. They're also on National RTAP eLearning within the course and separately, and they're on our YouTube channel. So there's lots of ways to watch the videos. Here are screenshots of the e-learning course. There are 6 modules in the course, which correspond with the Learner's Guide chapters. Each module has an exercise or a quiz at the end, and the course ends with a final exam. In the lower left, you'll see one of the videos embedded in the module, and in the lower right, you'll see an exercise at the end. So it's pretty simple, but trying to emphasize the key points in each of the chapters or modules. Learners can stop and start and revisit sections at any time. Closed captioning is available, and the e-learning course should take between 1.5 to 2 hours to complete, depending on the speed of the learner, and the scores of the learner are tracked. A certificate can be downloaded when all the modules in the final exam are completed. And we also can provide the e-learning course on a DVD upon request, which uses self-launching PDFs. It doesn't require internet access. You would not be able to track the scores, or you could still do a blank certificate of completion, fill in the name, but we wanted to provide that as an option in case internet access on a computer is an issue. And finally, here are some screenshots from the Facilitator's Guide. Again, this provides a description of the course, the materials needed to teach the course, different ways to adapt it at your agency or for your training, reminders about how to teach adult learners, and the different key points to highlight in each section. We recommend that facilitators read the learner's guide and watch the videos or take the e-learning course before delivering the training, in addition to going through this facilitator's guide. And I want to point out the chapter overview shown in the lower right. This is something the facilitator can print out for each chapter as kind of a cheat sheet as they teach the course, and it mentions the videos you'll need to play, some of the ask your supervisor questions, which was a new element we added to prompt learners to find out certain things at their agency, like if they're supposed to, like what specific policies and procedures are at their agency corresponding with the content being discussed in the training. And then also the exercises. So hopefully this is helpful for facilitators. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to access the Problem Passengers training. So there are two main ways to do it. So first is on the National RTAP Resource Library. So go to nationalrtap.org. You can click on Resource Library in the main menu at the top. And then when you get there, type in Problem Passengers under Find and Access Resources and click Keyword Search. And that will bring up some listings, and one of them will be the Problem Passengers Learner's Guide. And if you want a direct link to the Learner's Guide or the Facilitator's Guide, I've provided the links here. And these links will work on the PDF if you download it from the control panel. So once you're in that record in the resource library, this shows the Learner's Guide, but there's a similar one for the Facilitator's Guide. All the links for the course are provided in the course description and abstract. So you can get to the e-learning course that way, or the Facilitator's Guide is mentioned here. Also, in the lower right of the screen, you can click Go to Link to go to the e-learning course. You can click Download to download the PDF, and then you can click Add to Cart to order physical copies, again, which are free. So again, with the resource library, when you're placing an order, you will need a resource share account, and that is easy to create and free. We recommend using the same username and password for both Resource Share and National RTAP eLearning, which are separate systems. And if you have any questions about creating an account or using the system, please contact us. We have a live chat 9 to 5 Eastern Time, weekdays, or call us, and we're happy to help. We are happy to just send you the PDF, or if you let us know how many copies you want of the training and your shipping information, we can place the order for you. So you can order up to 100 learners' guides at one time. And again, all of our resources are free and ship free. So just let us know how we can help. Neil's going to talk more about e-learning, but here's a quick overview about how to access the e-learning version. You go to elearning.nationalrtap.org, and you either register or log in the upper right. Once you're logged in, you go to My Courses, and then click Open next to Problem Passengers. And again, if you have any questions about using National RTAP eLearning, I've provided a link with some other information about the system and the email address to get specific help with the e-learning system. So once you're logged in and in the Problem Passengers course folder, you'll see all the modules and the exam and the certificate of completion, which you can launch once you've completed all the other modules. And then I wanted to point out the course resources and facilitator resources. In the course resources, there's also the Learner's Guide PDF, the video clips, and then links to additional resources like what is provided in the Learner's Guide. And under Facilitator Resources is where you can get the Facilitator's Guide PowerPoint and a blank certificate of completion. And that would be, if you were doing an instructor-led training, it's a fillable PDF, and the instructor or supervisor's signature is required for that. And finally, we also provided the videos as a playlist on our YouTube channel. So try to provide everything, as many formats as possible to make it as easy to access the training as possible for however you end up delivering it. So now I'd like to, before we move to e-learning, just want to see if anyone has any questions yet about the content for problem passengers or the components of the course or how to access it based on what I've covered or anything we missed. So I haven't gotten any questions, but if anyone has a question, providing an opportunity now. I'm not sure, some of you might already be set up with National RTAP e-learning, so okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so we'll move on, but we'll have a time for questions after Neil's section. And okay, we got one question. The question was, would you suggest us doing this for drivers on their own or as a group? I'll provide a quick answer, and then Kyle, if you have anything to add. I feel like a hybrid would be a really good version. I think it's, I mean, either way, I think there's a lot of value in having an instructor lead a discussion and have, so I think it would be better to have some kind of instruction if possible, but we also know that it's hard to time up your training schedule. So I think it would be better than nothing to have the e-learning version or just the learner's guide. But I think having an instructor to guide a little bit of discussion, some reflection, and kind of having other drivers share experiences they've had and what they learned or how they handled it. I think there's a lot of value in that. And also having an agency talk about specific policies and procedures that they have. But, you know, everyone learns differently, and so maybe having them read through the learner's guide or do the course and then have a discussion, a separate session for discussion and role playing would probably be ideal. Neil or Kyle, do you have anything you want to add?
Not at this time. Yeah, I mean, just to echo what you said, I think this the content here lends itself really well to a hybrid training, especially since it's very driver focused. And I understand that for a lot of managers and supervisors, it's just hard to get your drivers off the road and in a room together for any length of time. So using the online version or some sort of independent study and then coming together as a group once everybody understood the content and going through some of the kind of people skills stuff as a group, since it is a course about dealing with other people, doing something with other people around you is certainly a big part of this training, if at all possible. But we understand too that that's just not practical for everyone. So the e-learning course is set up to be a standalone if that's what people need.
Thanks, Kyle. And the other question, and then we'll move on, is how long is the course? The e-learning course, when I took it, took me an hour and a half, but I put that to a range of 1.5 to 2 hours, since maybe I went through it faster than most people. The videos combined are 27 minutes. And in terms of if someone was reading it on their own, that depends on their reading speed and how long they would take with the exercises in the learner's guide. And for delivering it from an instructor's perspective, doing an instructor-led training, I think that would depend on you know, how long you spend on discussion and the exercises. And I think it can really be adapted for you know, various lengths. So that's probably not that helpful, but I think it can be adaptable depending on the time you have. Kyle, anything else?
No, I think that's probably about right. I'd say for the online learning, since it is stop and start, one thing that we advise, the more people stop. So if somebody just takes kind of a module at a time or even a half module at a time, overall it's going to take them way longer, even just of study time, because they have to go back into it. They usually work a little bit more slowly when they are actually in it. versus somebody who just sits down and does it all at once might be closer to an hour and a half. But I could see on something like this, 2 hours, 2.5, even 3 hours for somebody working really slowly on their own, who's, doing a module or half a module at a time. And that could be spread out over weeks or months. And so that's part of what's helpful is you can do it at the driver's own convenience as well. And then I think you're right on in terms of the classroom timing. I think there's just so much content here that if the instructor wants to do more scenarios based on their own experiences with dealing with different things on the road, with different things that passengers bring up, it could be a full day workshop, or you could probably compress it down to a couple hours if you really need to. So I think that's a lot more fluid based on how much time you have with your drivers and how much time you want to spend with them.
And final question, then we'll move on. How might we suggest topics that could be added to the next version or resources list you mentioned if the concern or topic comes up during our training? That's a good question. We welcome suggestions anytime on any of our materials. We won't be doing a major overhaul of this training anytime soon, but for the PDF, for the learner's guide, we printed a bunch, so we won't be doing a printing for a little while. But when we do the next printing, we could easily add something to the resources list, or we can add that in eLearning, in that page in eLearning. So I would say if you have any questions or suggested topics or links or anything like that, send them our way and we'll add them in as we can. And we're always looking for input and how the issues on the ground and also how the training is used. We welcome your feedback and input. All right, so let's move on to Neil. He's going to provide a little bit more information about the National RTAP e-learning system.
Thank you, Liz.
Yep, here we go.
Okay, yeah, this is Neil Rodriguez. I'm a project manager here, and I manage the e-learning system that we have in place. And I'm going to go over the overview of the system. I'll tell you how to log in and how to find the courses, and also go over the course folder and user accounts and how to access your transcripts and certificate of completion. So next slide. So this is the homepage, eLearning at nationalrtap.org, and you can see up in the top right. If you already have a login, click login, you enter your user credentials, and you get in the system. If you're not, you can just register right next to that, just to the left of the login button, and screen will pop up. It'll ask you to register, and you're in the system once you're in there. One of the fields it asks is if you have an access code, and if your agency already has a team in the system, the team administrator for that team will have that code. You put that in, and your user account will be linked to the e-learning team that your team has assigned. And if you do not, if you're a training manager, you next slide. You see there's a pull-down agency request button right there on the left-hand side of the screen. If you're the training manager, transit manager, and you want to create an e-learning team for your organization, when you click that field, that button, next slide, this form pulls up and it asks a bunch of required fields: first name, last name, email address, title, agency, are you an urban system, rural system, and then I couldn't fit it all on the same page, but if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a submit button, and you click that. And we get an email with all the information included, and we take that information, we create the team for your agency, we assign an access code for them, and then we assign the person who submitted the form, we assign them as the team administrator, so they'll be able to add users. Along with that email will be a PDF with the getting started guide, and it's a guide that helps the transit team admins add learners, delete learners, manage the team, and it has some useful information on how to do that. So then, next screen. Get your login. You logged in, boom, logged in. And then when you see in the one of the buttons on the top, My Courses. So when you click on My Courses, all the courses we have uploaded into the system appear. I mean, every learner who's registered will have access to all the courses. And you can see at the top there, we have the problem passengers. And at the top, next to My Courses, you'll see some other buttons, Resources, Transcript, Agency Requests, and inside the Resources tab is some e-learning resources. The Getting Started guides also included in there. So if you're registered in the system, you're not a team admin, but you want to be, you just send an email to eLearning@nationalrtap.org, and we'll toggle your user account to be the team administrator, and then and then you can manage the team. Next slide. Okay, so here's the course folder. So when you click open the course folder, this is where you click on the title, the button, the course folder expands and has a sort of a detailed description of the course, and if there's any issues with the course, like one of our courses has known issues in Internet Explorer, and we put we put the information in the description, say do not use Internet Explorer, because when you take this course and you spend 60 minutes in the system, it will not show you complete. So it's pretty important to read the course description. And then you'll see the open button. So you click the open button. Next screen. You'll see the courses. And so we've designed it to have each module separately, so you can go in and you can take module 1, you could stop, and then you go back and you can take module 1 again, or you could take module 2. And every time you complete it, you see to the left of the course name, see a little green circle. When the course is completed, the circle will turn green. So as you progress through the course, you get all the way to the bottom to module 7. And that's the final exam. And when you take the final exam, it's sort of the big quiz for all the course modules. And to pass, you need to have a 70% or better. And we made it so that you can go in and have an unlimited number of attempts in the course. So if you fail the first time, you can go back in, review some sections that you need, and then take it again. And when that module is completed, you have access to launch your certificate of completion right below it. So when you launch that, it'll pop up in the next screen, please. There it is. Okay. So then the PDF will appear on your screen, and you can download it, you can print it, and you close it. You can go back in the course, open it again. So it lives in the system. So if you didn't download it, or you took the course at home and you didn't have a printer, you can email it to your supervisor, or you can go back to work and open it up in there and print it and show them you have it. So it's pretty cool. We've had one of the cool features in the LMS system is that we've had people contact us who have moved jobs. They've changed jobs. They actually took all the courses we have in the system. They have their, and then they get their new job, and they won't have access to the e-learning system, and they call us, is there any way we could get our certificates? So we can easily assign users from one team to another team. So all that learning that they did in their previous account will follow them onto their new team, so they don't have to go back and take all the training again. So that's pretty cool.
Neil, do you want to go back to any of these, or?
Yeah. Oh, that was just the. I gotta move the questions off my screen. Hold on. Yeah, this is just how the course module looks. And it's opens up a new window in your internet browser, and next one. And then here's the look at the transcript. So if you click on that transcript button, this screen pulls up, and it has all the various details of your training courses that you have taken or you have not attempted, what your score was, and you could see on, say, about a little more than halfway down, I took the substance use awareness training course, I completed it, I passed, and you see the timer the duration. I spent over 60 minutes in the course, which allows me to have a certificate. And then you can even drill down even further into the folders and look at more detail. But I'm just showing you guys that. And then you can also go back real quick. In your transcript, and it, just like your thing, you can see on the top right, there's a PDF button. So you click that, and your transcript will be downloaded to your computer. So you can take the transcript, you can show your supervisor, here's what, all the training I've done, and then go from there. Okay. Next.
Neil, I just want to go back 1 second and point out that when, like Neil mentioned when you click on the title of the training, like under My Courses, it'll show the description. Similarly, when you click on the module title or like a folder title, it might have more information that isn't visible right away. And we put on the module descriptions the duration. So again, that was the duration that it took me. So it's an average. But in case your learners are looking to see what they can fit into a certain period of time, it'll give, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, however long that particular module is, an average duration, so that you can kind of schedule in your training accordingly. So that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Yeah, but I'd say the certificate feature, that downloading it right from your computer to your computer, having it printed, that probably saves a lot of time for a lot of people. They just take it to their HR department, say, here's my certificate. Next slide, please. That's it for my section, and then so let me look at the questions that are coming in.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have any other questions yet. So if you have any questions for myself or Kyle or Neil, if it's we didn't get in depth into the team admin kind of management of the system. So we figured this was just an overview about how to use the system. So if anyone has any other questions about problem passengers or how to access it or the National RTAP e-learning system, let us know. And I do want to just make sure it's clear the access code if a learner just wants to register themselves, they don't need an access code. The access code is just a way to be put into your agency's team if you already have one, but it's not required.
Yeah, we have a question. Someone's asking about the how will I know if my agency is registered? You could go ahead and submit the agency request form, and if it's already in the system, we'll send an email back and tell you, hey, you already have a team created, and here's the access code, and we'll add you to the team. And so.
Or just email eLearning@nationalrtap.org, and we can tell you to fill out the form if you don't have one. Yeah.
A question. If I have multiple eLearning accounts in error, how do I best solve that? Okay, you send an email to eLearning@nationalrtap.org, and then you tell us, and then we'll toggle however you registered by email, and we'll see that there's multiple accounts, and we'll ask you, and you'll let us know which one to delete or which one to keep.
Yeah, and we recommend when you register your learners to, fill in all the fields, the name, first name, last name, organization and everything. It just helps us find people easier, and even the state, because they're organized in the system by state. So that's helpful for us.
Yeah, and also one of the things we run into from time to time is that a manager will email us and say, I have multiple drivers I need to get the training, but some of them don't use email. So, which is okay. We just tell them, you can use the manager's email account as their email, and then the only issue there is that when they do something in the system, we send out notifications. They'll get multiple notifications to their email account, but that's how we remedied that. So.
Right, using a different username but the same email address.
Yes, different username, right. And again, we have people who get locked out all the time. We tell them, just send us an email, we'll unlock your account, or we'll assign a new password.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, if anything else comes up, please feel free to contact us. That's what we're here for, is to produce training materials and other technical assistance products, and to, you know, answer questions and provide reference services. So here's our contact information for our organization and also for Neil and I. Again, really just if anything comes up, let us know. We want you to use these resources. The recording and slides for this webinar will be posted at nationalrtap.org/webinars, usually in the next few days, but within 1 week at the latest. If you want a transcript, we can make that available. A survey will be going out tomorrow about the webinar. It's really quick. If you wouldn't mind filling that out, we just use those to improve for future webinars. And we really appreciate your time today. Thank you to Kyle and Neil for your presentations. And thank you all for joining us. We hope you'll join us for another National RTAP webinar, and please be in touch. Have a good day.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Bye-bye.